Hello everyone and welcome to game number 2 in our best of 5 series between GSG and Roller and Pbhead. Roller and Pbhead taking a decisive game number 1. Very, very effectively, just kept that power price high, made sure their opponents could never take power, and that was all she wrote, really. Roller making an absolutely ridiculous amount of cash on the back of his hacker array and power usage. Pbhead is going to be the first to found here and actually just throws down scientific on top of these combo tiles. Not wanting his opponents to have them, but not really looking to utilize them either. Just wants the nice, strong scientific location on top of all this iron, aluminum, and water. Paid quite a bit of debt for that, but will likely end up being okay. He's also going to take that first initial upgrade. Just keep flying into more and more steel. The classic 6 steel mills, once again, coming out of Pbhead. Roller has also gotten established on the same team. He has taken a nice power location, and so we will be looking once again probably for that superconductor play with geotherms out of Roller, and it might be even more effective this game, depending on what else is going on. So we're seeing a very, very similar opening out of Roller and Pbhead as last time. Just a little bit worried about their weak aluminum income for the time being. Whereas Saberman and Gameslayer, once again, we see a very similar opening and already getting punished, not splitting these steel mills with power surges available. Pbhead and Roller immediately jump on that and ruin all of Saberman and Gameslayer's steel income. That is not what you're looking for at all. And so that is gonna seriously set back Gameslayer and Saberman, having 5 of their tiles disabled. Some of the most beneficial tiles that can exist at this stage of the game for Saberman, and he's just not going to have access to them. Huge mistakes not making sure to get those tiles secured, not splitting them up, not goon squatting them. Any of these things can help out. I'm not even sure they would have had access to goon squads just yet, but it's a very, very simple case of just put 3 steel mills here, 2 steel mills here, and you're all good to go against that power surge. It's not going to completely ruin your entire game. Once again, the power surge lands. No excuse not to have the goon squad down by now. For Saberman and Gameslayer, they could have canceled an upgrade, just not taken this upgrade to HQ level 2. Made sure they secured that steel production, but instead they're just going to stay punished by more power surges landing, allowing Pbhead and Roller to take more and more of an advantage. Roller has a little bit of debt he's going to need to pay down, but he already has 2 geotherms online, each of them making a solid $152. A second power price should continue to rise with these steel mills for some time, once they turn back on, this is, and so that's likely going to be a nice position for Roller. Looks like Roller and Pbhead already off to a fantastic start. Gameslayer and Saberman lagging behind, unable to secure all these buildings to go along with the upgrade due to the shortage in steel, not having any cash to strike back due to getting their steel frozen out, even just struggling to secure this goon squad. Because, of course, they didn't have access to that all-important steel money. Wow, Roller already in a ridiculous amount of water, it looks like. Although, what is going on here? It's not showing me that the water is actually flying to him, which is a little bit awkward. Roller, are you making water? No, we've got Pbhead selected there. Roller is making a fair amount of water and not sharing it with Pbhead, so that is an interesting thing to note. Why aren't we seeing anything flying out of here, though? Oh, okay. Because it's still connected right here. That is an important small detail that we don't see come up all that often in team games. This basic idea of your resources can actually go into your opponent's headquarters. And so these aren't flying any ships out because, well, they're still attached to an HQ. It's just a slightly different one. Sorry, guys, I didn't spot that instantly because it just doesn't come up all that often. Alright. Pbhead and Roller still sitting on a pretty nice advantage. They haven't made any particularly decisive moves yet, but these geotherms are going to stay strong this entire time. We have seen an aggressive hit back from Gameslayer and Saberman. Unfortunately, it's just kind of this position where Roller is very, very solidly secured on his most important tiles. 224 apiece, and so even this power surge, I mean, it knocks out a fair amount of income, but it's just not going to get as much done as one might hope. The best part it really seemed to do was keep this patent office from getting built too fast and letting Roller push to that superconductor too early. Now, are Saberman and Gameslayer even looking at making power yet? I'm not seeing it. They're in some food did throw down a boost, it looks like, on these steel mills to try and catch back into the game a bit. Unfortunately, steel mills just not all that valuable these days, and we do in fact see a boost onto Roller's patent office. Definitely love that move. Gameslayer and Saberman aren't even close to one just yet. Roller, he's got to make sure to use this boost. There we go. We see Superconductor coming on out. Only going to take 20 seconds to clean that up. Double the effectiveness of these geotherms. They're going to be making combined over $1,000 a second for Roller once all is said and done with that Superconductor. It is good to see Gameslayer having some solar power online now, unfortunately. Still nighttime, so it's not actually pulling in anything just yet, and he does have $26,000 in debt he is going to have to pay down. Going to be very, very difficult to do. Already getting mutinied away. There are, of course, power surges still available, although they have already been made very, very expensive. And once those are used up, it is worth noting that we're almost out of aggressive options at that point. Just circuit overloads, power surges, and filthy pirates to be looking at. I would have loved potentially to see a circuit overload over here. That could have been particularly interesting when those were still online. For now, we are just going to see an adrenaline boost come down on the hacker array. Plus geotherms. How much money is Roller pulling in? 1,500 a second from that power. He is going to kill that price pretty fast at this rate, but as long as he gets all that cash right now, he probably just doesn't care. We already see the carbon shortage most of the way done by now. Only about 20 seconds left on that. And they have purchased an awful lot of carbon, already sitting on about probably $70,000 worth of carbon that they are just going to be shorting, magnifying that income. We can see a huge difference between how Roller and Pbhead are coming at these games from Blues and Death Tacticus. Blues and Death Tacticus relied almost solely on power for the mid-game, and it seemed to serve them pretty well. Pbhead and Roller are much more quickly moving into this hacker array and trying to magnify their advantage early. And we can also see along with that, Pbhead is consistently taking on significantly more debt than almost anybody else we've seen so far this tournament. So maybe it's a bit more high-risk, high-reward strategy out of this team. They have just decided we want to win, and we want to win fast. And we are going to do what we have to do to make that happen, including just going into truly insane amounts of debt on their support player to allow their primary player to develop an absolutely ridiculous amount of cash. Carbon shortage already coming in, another one on the way in about 4 seconds, it looks like here. Ooh, that is a lot of cash that Roller is already sitting on. Looking at about 210,000, still making great money off of this power. There is also a Goon Squatted Pleasure Dome established already. It does have virtual reality from that adrenaline boosted patent office. The adrenaline boost is being used very aggressively this game. Fantastic tool for pushing a lead into an even greater lead. Nothing too surprising there. It does look like Gameslayer and Saberman are trying to knock out the legs from under Roller, basically trying to take Pbhead out of the equation by giving him a large amount of debt. But I'm afraid it might be a little, too little too late at this point. He is also kind of cutting into Roller's energy with this particular freeze. But Saberman already taken down by Roller. He just saves enough to get it done, and Gameslayer is immediately going to give it up at that point. That looked a lot more clean than last game, and a lot more terrifying. These geotherms ready to go with Superconductor and pushing into a hacker array. Very, very, very specific line of play, ending that game so fast. That was absolutely crazy. Only 81,000 coming in from entertainment revenue that game. Still a significant amount of cash, but we can also see that if we push over to the resources for Roller, he auto-sold 140,000 in power, so power doing a lot more work for him than the Pleasure Dome that game, but together, those alone looking at about $220,000. And then the shortage coming up big for an extra about 150, it looks like. Just 3 different tools all working together fantastically to allow Roller and Pbhead to press right on through this one and press us toward a game number 3. Very, very nice indeed. Huge mistakes still up here. Huge mistakes. You cannot let your steel just get frozen out like that. Unacceptable. You get punished for it quite heavily. Can't let it happen. We see the result of that right here and now.